Coming live from the neighborhood, you are listening to Hapi Hood The Podcast, where we deliver meaningful content to inspire, uplift, and empower. Hey neighbor, it's your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray, lifestyle coach with a passion for helping others embrace self-worth and live a life of fulfillment. Welcome to the neighborhood. It's Hapi Hood The Podcast.
Finish
Message.
what you start.
Let's go. Welcome back to the neighborhood. Welcome to Hapi Hood The Podcast. I'm your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray, and this is our Monday leadership series. This is where we take a moment to focus on leadership habits. We believe in building today's habits for a successful tomorrow, because we all believe that leadership is not a title, it's a choice. It's a choice that we make on a daily basis to lead with humility, to build trust and collaboration, to drive change, to manage change. So it is our moment to say, you know what, today I'm going to be a leader. In this situation, I'm going to be a leader. In this moment, I'm going to be a leader. So again, thank you for joining us and tapping into Monday leadership here on Hapi Hood The Podcast. Today's episode is from a conversation that I had with my wife a couple of weeks back. And it was, from something we came across on social media. And it was based on the impacts, the effects of overprotective parenting. And pretty much it was just kind of just showing that there's countless studies now that are starting to show and even companies and even some coaches have mentioned that young adults are lacking resilience, perseverance. They lack the ability to manage stress. And the early theories are that it is rooted in parenting styles, especially parenting styles that are overprotective. And me and my wife was talking like, wow, that's kind of interesting. And we started examining our own parenting styles, and we started thinking, hey, is there some areas that we're a little bit overprotective? And one examples it was showing, or it said about, hey, if your child forgot something that they were supposed to bring to school, it is not our responsibility to stop what we're doing and take whatever that item, laptop, track shoes, to school. It is there. We have to now, we're not now, but we have to establish and help them understand accountability to take responsibility of their actions and decisions. And it was just kind of showing those examples, right? That, hey, that may be leading to being a overprotective parent, to where you're not allowing your child to experience failure. You're not allowing your child to understand and really understand the consequences and deal with the consequences of lack of preparation, lack of planning, right? Now, have I been one of those parents that took a computer to school or took some track shoes to school? Yes, I have. I've done that, right? But there are some other areas that, I feel that we are a little bit more firm in helping our kids establish accountability, right? Now, again, we can kind of go back and forth to where, yeah, there are some areas in, I'm pretty sure a lot of our parenting are, journeys that we were a little bit overprotective, right? And but so we was talking about it, and about like, hey, this is, yeah, maybe the next time she forgets her shoes, sometimes forget, I'm not taking them, and there been some moment, yeah, we ain't taking 'em, sorry. You're just gonna have to deal with it, or sit out, you know, because it's gonna help you to remember you need to, that's your responsibility. You know, I don't, we leave out, we do a little training. We're going to do some training. Hey, that's your responsibility to remember to bring your water bottle. I It's your responsibility. So we will have had moments of that since our conversation. And it has helped, right? It has helped them to understand, oh, before I leave out, let me check. Do I got everything? Do I have everything? So today, I want to spend some time talking about stern leadership. Leadership. Now, when you think about stern leadership, I think over the years it may have gotten a bad rep. There's maybe some negative connotation when you think about, man, that person is so stern, she's so firm. When I think about like past teachers, right? Because it was somewhat of individuals that having zero tolerance for nonsense, right? They were very forthcoming when it came to you understanding your expectations. They were very hard on you. They have moments where they just let you know like that was not good, right? And it was at times where, man, like we kind of like had hesitations, or we kind of feared them in that way. But when I think about all my teachers that were very stern and was definitely had zero tolerance for nonsense, I think back again, I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful for some of my leaders, as beginning my corporate journey, that didn't allow me to get away with anything. That was very upfront in feedback, providing feedback to me to let me know, like, you know what, that wasn't good. You know, even though at time, man, like that was kind of harsh, but it's what I needed. It is what I needed, and I believe we're in today's culture. If I can get on my soapbox a little bit, I think we're missing that. We're missing pieces of that. We're missing pieces of stern leadership because we have either came too concerned about individuals' emotions, you know, where I don't want to trauma the kid, or I don't, I'm concerned about how they're going to feel. Now that doesn't mean you cannot still be empathetic, right? And that's another, hopefully today we can kind of debunk certain things, that you can be stern and demonstrate empathy and lead with humility, right? You don't have to be this, I don't when I think about like some stern leadership, like, fire coming coming out of your head, your skull, what I'm saying, to where like every time you just mad, what I'm saying? Like almost like when I think about this is so crazy. I'm thinking about the Jetsons. Where I forget Mr. I can't think of the boss name. It's gonna probably come to me after this later on today, but you get what I'm saying? Like that's kind of like the image, that I feel like we see when we think about stern leadership. So I think definitely it's something that we're missing, because again, we're too concerned about emotions, and then we become too concerned about being offended. And what I mean by that is the whole like offense thing, right? To where if individuals talking about you in in the comments, to where we lack the emotional discipline to overcome moments where we may be a little offended, right? We may be a little offended, and I think about today's environment, especially in the political environment. There is, and I'll say this here, with that understanding that we have been too concerned about people's emotions, we have uh become too offended about certain things. We also have misconceptions around stern leadership, to where we have confused stern leadership with toxic leadership, with toxic leadership. So it has caused this misconception around this leadership style, to where we don't practice it. And going back to my statement around, like, political, again, I'm not here to talk about red, blues. To me, it's sometimes it's all semantics. But what occurred a week ago in the Oval Office, if I can be straightforward, around President Trump, Vice President Vance, and President Zelensky, that was toxic leadership. That was individuals blaming each individual. That that was not showing respect and fairness on both sides. So I think, again, and again, showing that for the world to see is another thing. The certain things should be handled private, right? There should be a way that we're also understand that, hey, we have to lead by example. Okay. So again, stern leadership, I think, again, there's the idea that we become too concerned about people's emotions. We have shown in our own self a lack of emotional discipline because everything is offense. We become offended by everything. And then on the other side, we have also confused stern leadership with toxic leadership. And so this episode here, we're going to hopefully differentiate those two and provide some habits. Before I do that, hey, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Also, do me a favor, leave a comment, and let me know what resonates with you in this episode, as well as what leadership topics that you have a passion for, that you will like for me to discuss. Because it's really helpful. All right, so you already know it's really helpful when you like and subscribe, because it helps. It really helps. So, stern leadership. Let's talk about it. I think first, let's kind of have a working definition of stern leadership. So, stern leadership, I'm looking at it from the lens, it's a leadership style that emphasizes firmness, consistency, accountability, while maintaining fairness and respect. It's a leadership style that emphasizes firmness, consistency, accountability, while maintaining fairness and respect. Another way to look at it, stern leadership is a principle driven type of leadership. Is a principle driven type of leadership. And when I think about, again, my wife and I leadership style at this time with our kids, the mentorship and the coaching, it is set on a foundation that is principle driven. That's principle driven. It is essentially, and I had this idea with, years ago, as I thought through like what type of parent I wanted to be, is that I don't want to be the parent that teaches my kids what to think. I want to be the parent that teaches my kids how to think, how to think. And the how is built on the foundation of, here's our principles, here's our values. So this is somewhat, it helps us it's our compass, right? So we use this to make decisions. We use this to help us establish boundaries. We use this to be fair. We use this to show respect. We use this to uh, uh, live a life, right? Live a life that reflects, in our belief, a godly life. Live a life that reflects the values that you was raised in, right? So let's go to here. Stern leadership. As I said before, there's a difference between, as I said, where we're confusing stern leadership with toxic leadership. So let's just first kind of go over what I believe. Like, hey, here's some stern leadership of what stern leadership, and here's an example of toxic leadership. So stern leadership, as I said before, it is the ability to hold people accountable with fairness. Stern leadership is the ability, part of demonstrating stern leadership is the ability to hold individual accountable with fairness. Toxic leadership is using fear and intimidation. That's toxic leadership. That's toxic leadership when we use fear and intimidation. So again, before stern leadership, you hold individuals accountable with fairness. Toxic leadership is leading with fear and intimidation. Another example, stern leadership provides clear and honest communication. Toxic leadership use manipulation and secrecy, right? So again, I want to show these difference. Toxic leadership use manipulation and secrecy or secrecy. Stern leadership provide clear expectation with honest communication. So I said before, you can be a stern leader and still demonstrate empathy. Like this stern leadership is not this big bully bad guy as I was given the image before. It's it can be someone that is soft spoken. It is not the loudest person in the room. It is not the smartest person in the room. Sometimes we kind of see that those has been what I believe has been some of the myths around stern leadership, that it is the loudest person, it is the smartest person in the room. It's the most uh, um uh deceiving person, you know. No. Another example is that stern leadership leads with consistency and integrity. Stern leadership leads with consistency and integrity. Toxic leadership, on the other hand, is unpredictable and biased. Toxic leadership is unpredictable and biased. So again, those are certain things there where if we're thinking about, as me and my wife was talking, and again, as you know, now our kids are in sports, I want a stern leader. I don't want a toxic leader. And I'm pretty sure we don't want to put our kids in a toxic environment. And but these are certain things we need to look at. Is there fear and intimidation there? 'Cause if it's fear and intimidation, then that's a toxic environment. Or is it individuals that's holding people accountable with fairness? Okay. Is a coach holding people accountable with fairness? Is a coach using manipulation? Or is a coach providing clear and honest communication? Is that coach unpredictable and biased, toxic leadership? Or is that coach leads with consistency and have integrity? Have integrity. This is again, as I said before, these are when I think about my kids, when I think about their sports journey now, these are the characteristics, right? The characteristics that I'm looking for in their teacher. I'm looking for in their coaches, right? And again, that's and I want to say I know that is that the overprotective person in me? Maybe a little bit. I tell you, this is stuff I'm working on. But I want them to not go into an area where it's going to be toxic. I want them to make sure that they can thrive in an area that people hold you accountable for your actions. We hold you accountable for your action. There's consequences for your action. Those consequences of action. I love my daughter's coach. Um, I just call it Coach J. But there were some consequences that my daughter and some of her friends had to do because they were not responsible in a certain task. So they had to run a 3200 in a actual meet. And I love that coach did that. I love when I went to the meeting, the coach said, "Look, yes, when we go to these meets, we're looking to bring with us the top performers, but understand that is also we're also considering your behavior. We're also considering, you know, your grades, and you're making sure that you're maintaining. Those are the things there that yes, at the end of the day, we want to win. That's in the yes, we want to win. That's objective. But at the same time, we want to build up men and women. We want to build them up to be thriving citizens. And that is stern leadership. That's an example of stern leadership. So, what are the habits? What's some of these habits that we can do to kind of help us with setting or being stern leadership? The number one habit, and these are not in no type of sequential order. Number one, we need to set clear expectations. There are certain things where my kids, they understand the expectation of mommy and I when they go to school, or when they're in the area where they're not in our presence, right? There's a certain expectation. Okay. There's a certain expectation around here's the house rules, and here's how we just stick in this, how we make decisions. There's a certain expectation around your responsibilities in this house, right? Setting clear expectations. Where we're a business leader, we're defining roles and goals up front. Here's what we're measuring your success on. That stern leadership. Here's how we're measuring our success, your success. Defining here's your role and here's your goal up front. We're not having no moving target. Here's your goal and here's your role up front. Set clear expectations. Another way that we can demonstrate stern leadership and build the habits around that is cultivate emotional discipline. As I said before, I feel like we have in our society, we're either too concerned how people feel with our how we make decisions, or we become so offended of what people may say. Like every little thing is offensive to us. And with having emotional discipline, it is having the ability to avoid leading with your emotions. That's what emotional discipline is. Yeah, and certain things, yeah, there are certain things, yeah, that may offend you. Yes, there are certain times where we need to take into consideration how this decision is going to impact individuals' mental, right? And I'm not discounting that, but we cannot allow at times our emotions to lead our decisions. Now, we take those things into consideration, but we shouldn't lead with our emotions. And with making decisions, we should make decisions based on our principles, not based on our emotions, not based on how frustrated we are. We should make decisions based on our principles, emotional discipline. And let me just kind of also say this, especially as leaders, and I'm talking more to the formal leaders as well as parents, right? Stern leadership, when you make decisions based on your principles, you're able to make tough decisions. You're able to make tough decisions. I never forget early in my corporate journey, my leader, she said one thing you got to understand in this leadership role is that at times you got to make unpopular decisions. Unpopular decisions. And the way that you do that is that you don't get caught up in the emotions. You don't get caught up in the emotions. You try to look at things very objectively. You try to use data points to help you with your decisions. You get input from others, right? But you don't get caught up in the emotions. And that was early on how I developed and still develop emotional discipline. Emotional discipline. And even with my kids, hey, there's gonna be moments where you're not gonna perform well. There's gonna be moments where you're gonna get frustrated at the outcome of a sports or in class. Don't allow your emotions to overtake you. Take a moment. If you gotta take a moment, breathe, pause, relax, recalibrate, but become emotional discipline. You're gonna have some highs, you're gonna have some lows. We don't get too high, we don't get too low. Okay. Emotional discipline. Cultivating emotional discipline. The other thing, or the next thing I want to say, a habit that we can do to develop and practice stern leadership is lead by example. I think one of the best examples of this that I like, it fits within stern leadership is watching the documentary Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan, The Last Dance. And towards the end, some of his teammates were saying, like, yeah, he was a jerk, he was arrogant, but he never asked us to do anything that he wasn't already doing. And even Michael Jordan, he kind of he never I never asked him to do anything that I wasn't already doing, that I wasn't holding myself accountable for that. He said that his also teammates also, yeah, he never asked to do anything that he wasn't already doing. And that of itself is, I'm calling this, that's the epitome of leading by example. Is leading by example. Is understanding that, hey, I gotta show up on time. I gotta follow through with my commitments. I gotta model the behavior that I want you to follow. And as parents, that's what we do. We do that daily, right? We do that daily. Sometimes we get it right. Sometimes we don't get it that right. Sometimes we got, you know what? I made a mistake. I got, I wasn't emotionally disciplined. I made a mistake when that person cut me off. I shouldn't be yelling and using certain words. But when we able to lead by example, his example is the model that I want for you to behave. I remember when I was going after my CFP, Certified Financial Planner designation, and I didn't get it. Second time I did it twice. Still didn't get it, but I was happy. And and I remember coming home, and my daughter Joy, she's like, "Oh, Daddy, you didn't." I feel so. I said, "Baby girl, it's okay because you know what? I gave my best. I gave it my best." And at the time, it was a teaching moment for them to see me, especially, Joy, because Lathan was too young at the time, to see me in a moment of how I handled failure, right? To see me in that moment of how do you like, Dad, how did you handle that failure? And it was and it was such a beautiful moment because it was just like, I feel like God's like, hey, here's a teaching moment. Is a moment. Message. Here's a moment. I was like, you know what? Yes, I was devastated, but I was like, you know what, baby girl? I gave it my best. And at the end of the day, that's all I want you to do in school and everything that you do in life. I just want you to give it your best. That's all. I just want you to give it your best. Lead by example. Okay. Another one that I want to provide, another habit is providing constructive feedback. And I'm calling this transparency. And I can't tell you enough, especially with my kids, now that they're in sports. This is so important. This is so important, right? And this is when I think about transparency, I think about the moments where you have to be vulnerable and courageous at the same time. It is like a level of vulnerability, right? Because yes, you just like emotional discipline, this may hurt their feelings. However, again, how you present it, how you articulate it is very helpful, right? But then there's moments where Is no way of getting around it. That wasn't good. And constructive feedback is so critical, and it's something that I have learned to get better at with my kids, especially in their sports endeavor. Because early on, this was definitely something not good. Um, because when they didn't do well, and I saw them at the moment getting frustrated, and the results, and all this, like, why I gotta do this, or I just say, well, you the one said you want to do it. You the one that wanted to sign up for this. You the one that wanted to go out. And it took me, a while to say, you know what, and come, practice some awareness that I was shaming them. Because what I was doing is shaming them of saying, of you know what, when you make a decision like that, or that was a bad decision. So you should never try to challenge yourself. You should never try to go after the big goals. It's your fault. And I had to change that around to, you know what? Let's be committed to the process. So with being committed to the process, let me provide you some constructive feedback to help you to stay committed to the process. Okay. Let me understand, you know what? Hey, and I use the kind of okay to good to good to great. I would say, hey, that was okay, but to take it okay to good, here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to work on. Hey, that was good right there. But to take it from good to great, here's what I want you to continue to work on. Right. And I believe, with their, being receptive to my my feedback, it has helped. Has helped to build that trust with them, that I can provide a constructive feedback, because I'm showing you, I'm holding you accountable for your actions and your behavior, but I'm also doing it in a very fair and respectful way. Right. And I was at times, is that fair? I'll say, is that fair? And they're like, that's fair. So having that, being constructive feedback, or providing constructive feedback, I'm just calling being transparent. I think it is one of those things where stern leadership, we may overlook this, right? Because we may think of stern leadership like, oh, you did something so bad, I can't believe. But when we're doing it in a very respectful and fair way, it is constructive. It is helping them to get to understand, you know what, that was okay, but to take it from okay to good. Okay, that was good, but to take it to good to great, here's where it is. And that understanding constructive feedback is understanding. I had to do this with my son. There's a certain standard that I expect you to play by, or to demonstrate. Right now, does that mean that you're going to hit it all the time? No, no, no. This is what we strive towards, right? This is what we strive towards. And all of it is around effort. It is around effort. And that is something that I'm especially with my youngest, teaching him that, hey, there's some effort that you got to put in, right? There's some effort you got to put in on the track. There's an effort you got to put on the football field. There's an effort you got to put on in the basketball. There's an effort that you got to put in the classroom. It's not just applicable to sports. It's very much applicable in the classroom, and it's just life in general, right? Providing constructive feedback. That is a stern leadership habit that we can develop and do. The last thing that we can do is balance discipline with support. And what I mean by that, and this kind of goes back to my parenting with the kids, especially, like, yeah, y'all probably know I'm the coach. I'm that parent. I'm the sideline coach. I get involved. I help my kids because I like to coach the mental, right? I like to coach the mental and help them. And like I say, my son, he calls me coach. So that's what I do. And I love it. But balancing discipline with support is helping them understand that I'm going to challenge you because I want you to grow, right? But we're not challenging them in a way that we're looking to break them. It is like that, going back to developing that emotional discipline. This is where we develop that mental toughness, right? That this is that growth mindset, right? This is the grit that we develop here. That we're not just going after things because it's easy, right? That was an easy A. No, go after the challenge. Be challenged, because in the challenge, you can learn something about yourself and you can grow. Don't just go after the easy thing. I mean, my son, he was in track, and he was kind of concerned about running the 400. I said, like, dude, and he's like, it's too far. I can't do it. I said, do it. You can do it. You got to believe in yourself. And I'm telling you, family, he did it last year. Won his heat, you know, came in 10th overall. Like, in his age group, like, and I saw him like, look at you. And he was so excited, like, Dad, I can't wait to do it again. I can't wait to do it again. Balance discipline with support. Balance discipline with support. Great leaders challenge their people. We challenge you, but yet we do it as we encourage you, because we find ways to encourage you while making sure you understand there's a standard that we're reaching for. There's a standard for what we're reaching for. Okay. Because we know that leadership is not a title, it's a choice. It's a choice that we make to lead by example. It's a choice that we make to set clear expectations. It's a choice that we make to cultivate emotional discipline. It's a choice that we make to provide constructive feedback. It's a choice that we make to balance discipline with support. Because when we do that, we're able to be successful tomorrow. We're building today's habits for a successful tomorrow. The next time, family, love God, love yourself, love your neighbor. I'm your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray. Be blessed.